Sarah, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Fast. Alongside me, just like every single week, is manager Jacob, and the people want to know, what are you drinking or eating this week?
Sarah, this week, we record this podcast in the East End of Toronto, and
Shout
I got to give another.
East End.
Everyone knows that I'm a big. I'll shout out the East End for the smallest stuff, but this week we have actually a big one. Now, when this came out, they actually opened several weeks ago, but I went for the first time myself this week to the new Lambo's location in the East End. I had never been to the previous one, and for anyone who's not from Toronto, it's a sandwich shop. It's like
Dundas
a
and
class.
Ossington, yeah.
I guess there's one over there in the West. Yeah. But they do like, what do they call them? Like a hoagie, like a classic Italian
like one that
sandwich,
you get in like
you know?
New York. It's that kind of
Exactly.
vibe.
And you know what? I'm a big sandwich guy. I know that you, I think last episode maybe talked about like you're in your sandwich era.
Yeah, I'm a big sandwich lady.
If you're in the city, even if you're in the West End, come to the East End to try out Lambo's on the east side. But I was super happy with my choice.
And it was good? Like it lived up to the hype?
Yeah, I just did the classic one.
Did you purposely only wait until it came to the East End before you had it? Like you knew it was coming? Or was it just,
I've also never been to a Blue Jays game because I won't attend until they open an East End Rogers Center.
Wait, actually, side note, have you actually never been to a Blue Jays
I've been
game?
to several Blue Jays.
I was like, how did we
Imagine.
I was like, how did it take this many episodes for me to learn that you've never been to a Blue Jays game? Okay, good.
What about you? What are you eating or drinking?
I've entered red wine season.
Oh, really?
As soon as it gets like a little cool, I'm like, okay, I can't drink white or rosé or anything else. Red wine just like speaks to me. It's like what I get excited for, like a little glass of red wine.
I feel like I saw on a story maybe from the weekend that you've been drinking some bread and butter.
That's my favorite.
Yeah?
It's my go-to.
I was going to say, you have any other recommendations? Or that's it? What you're drinking right
okay,
now?
so this is the issue. I don't know what anything is called. There's this one that if you guys are if you're OG vlog watchers, you'd remember this one that's like kind of like in a paper. It's like a vintage one of the LCBO, and it's like in this paper wrapping. I don't know how to explain it. I post it all the time. There's that one.
Okay.
But then bread and butter. Bread and butter is my favorite one to bring to people because like the bottle's very like sleek looking and it looks very like it looks more expensive than it is, even though it's only like a $20 bottle of wine. What about you? Do you have red wine
recommendation? I have always a billion red wine recommendations.
Send them my way.
I will.
I'm gonna try to go to a wine bar in New York maybe because I feel like that's like the energy
I
of like New York City.
like 5 on my list.
I'm also gonna go get a tattoo where you.
Are you actually?
Yeah, Haley and I are gonna go.
Nice.
But anyways,
God,
red
fun.
wine and tattoos apparently, but I'm drinking red wine. That's what's happening right now.
Actually, I'm gonna give a shout out. I've never been, but you should probably go. Is Orange Glow in New York City? It's I can't remember which neighborhood. It's like below the East Village there, but also in the East Village, Ruffian is one of the best.
You really only stay East in no matter what city that you're in. Eh?
Yeah,
all of your recommendations like were from the East
Soho
Village
from across Broadway or whatever. What about what we're reading or watching? What do you got this week?
I am an official fantasy book girly pop. Holy shit. I'm like, I just want to be a fairy. That's like the extent of what I am.
Okay, you're on the series still.
Oh yeah, I read 2,000 pages worth of content on the weekend.
Oh my
That's like
God.
a lot. I read 3 full books because I started book 2, 3, and 4.
And we're talking hardcover or e-reader or like.
Well,
I
read it on the e-reader, but like I'm saying like based on the actual page count of each book, I read 2,000 pages worth of.
That is huge.
And so I literally did nothing. I canceled all my plans and I just like, I'll talk about it a little bit later, and had just a self-care weekend, but a quart of everything is what I'm going to call it because it's the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I've talked about it previously on the podcast and I just dipped my toe into it, but holy shit, I'm obsessed with it. If you've never read fantasy, read this series. You will love it. I'm obsessed with it. I like literally, I know girls have gotten tattoos of like this series. Now I get why.
Do in New York?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I'm gonna have like oh my God, I don't want to spoil anything, but it is so good.
Is it getting better like each book, or just like
Yes, but I'm also just like book 2 is like the best book, but also each book gives you different things, right? It's like book 2 is really where there's like a lot of slow burn happening, which everyone loves. But book 3, there's like a war and there's, oh my God, there's just different stuff in every single book. And I love it so much. And then you get to know more of the characters, and I'm fully engulfed in like the universe of the world. And I put on my little galaxy light and I read it, and I'm about to start the final book. Oh, I just started it before I came here. I started the final book. But there's another one coming out, not till 2025 though. But anyways, A Court of Everything.
Is this going to kick off your reading slump? And I know this is one like contained series, but like,
I already want to
like
read.
You're back in it?
I already want to reread the first book just because I know so much more now that I want to go back and read all the things in the first book and all the hints. But no, I think it's gonna just send me down like the fantasy journey and like more. It's gonna send me down the path of more books that are like in a series instead of all these one-offs that I read. Yeah. That then like I get in and out of slumps. So if I start all these different series, then I'll have content to read for days. Oh my god, I just like ignore my life. It's so good. It's so good. How about you?
Okay, well, I'm like throwing it back. If that's something new and there's a new book coming out, I'm revisiting old content right now, old movies-ish.
Old movies.
Not super old movies, but like revisiting movies that I enjoyed years ago and want to come back to. You know, we're in the fall. Again, kind of going off of cozy vibes, trying to just like cuddle up at home and, you know, watch some classics. I loved this movie when it first came out, and then just rewatched it the other day. Have you ever seen It's Kind of a Funny Story with Zach Galifianakis?
No.
Early Emma Roberts.
Emma Roberts.
Yep. And yeah, I think now you're questioning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost certainly it's Emma Roberts. And then I
interesting.
cannot for the life of me because I don't think he's been in anything super big.
It's Kind of a
then.
Funny Story.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen it.
It deals with a lot of mental health in a hospital, and
I know what movie you're talking about now. Actually, yeah, no, I've never seen it. It is Emma Roberts. Good. You're right. It is Emma Roberts.
It is funny, but it's also super heartwarming.
And what platform can we watch that on if anyone wants to watch it?
Ooh, probably a streaming platform that I forget that I watched it on. But I'm sure it's out there.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, what are we listening to this week?
Okay, I've been diving into more podcasts, and you know, I've got a good core of podcasts that I listen to on a weekly basis, but I've been trying to expand a little bit and also maybe revisit some older podcasts that like I enjoyed previously, but maybe haven't like been keeping up with. So I listened to two that I really enjoyed. One, you ever listen to Jay Shetty?
Yeah,
watch
the podcast clips on TikTok. It's all the
yeah,
same
it's
thing.
all the same. But like it popped off recently because of the Jada Pinkett Smith episode.
Tupac stuff that's been going around. Yeah.
And then, but he also just had an interview, and I'm totally blanking on her last name, but it's Kelly something. Look it up. She's a really cool designer who's designed like a lot of interiors and full projects for hotels. And I just listened to it, and I had it was a really interesting podcast. Someone talking about their like design inspiration, which is something that I'm super interested in, furniture and all that stuff. So I love that one. And then also Rich Roll, which is like an ultra marathoner turned like content creator who interviews interesting people. And he interviewed one of my favorite comedians, Pete Holmes. So
would you ever do an ultra marathon? That's
I'd
like 50K.
Yeah.
That's like 50K or more, isn't
50
it?
or over, yeah. I'd love to.
My friend Daniel, like my one of my best friends, Kate, her boyfriend, he tried to run 100 kilometers, not in an ultra marathon, just for funsies. And he like raised money doing it, and I think he made it to 80. And he saw that as like I only made it to 80. And I went, I'm sorry, you just ran 2 full marathons. That's insane. Ultra marathoning is something.
Would you ever do that? From a half to an ultra? No. Skip the marathon?
Skip the marathon? No, I'm just like, I'm floating with the fact of maybe doing a marathon. So maybe baby steps. I don't think I'll ever be an ultra person.
We'll get there after the marathon.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Or maybe not. Who knows? What about you? What are you listening to?
I've with my red wine. So now picture me with my glass of red wine, my fantasy books, and listening to sad girl fall music. What is defined as sad girl fall music? I'm not necessarily saying that I am sad girl. I'm just saying like the sad girl fall energy, vibes, staring at the window while it's like the leaves are falling while you're in like the back seat. You know what I mean? Like that's the energy. And that to me is Folklore and Evermore. So I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'm back on my favorite playlist on Spotify, which is someone that just put Folklore and Evermore, every song like every other one. And I just listen to that in order. And so that's like why Folklore and Evermore always ends up being on my Spotify like most listened to list. I think just because in October specifically, I listen to it so often. But sad girl fall music, it is. Maybe I should just make my own playlist of it, but sad girl fall stuff.
Okay, what is it? Just top track. This is you putting you on the spot, but top track again. You maybe have mentioned this before, but from both albums.
Mirrorball on Folklore, Champagne Problems on Evermore. Easy, done. That was like, I'm probably getting a Mirrorball tattoo. So
is that what it's gonna be?
It's either gonna be a Mirrorball. I'll show you every version of myself tonight, or an open book.
Ooh.
Or both. Might be silly, goofy, and get
pointing
two.
to like your here. Elbows, kind of
like back here
on the back of you. Okay,
that's where the mirror ball would go, and then the book I think would go here.
Oh, this is cool. Get both.
I probably will because I feel like I'm a chicken. If I like, I don't know.
It's nice to have balance too.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like it'll be weird if I just have one tattoo. Like just having one feels very weird to me. And then it's probably going to be me being like, having only 2 is weird. And then I'm sure that's how like
exactly.
the spiral starts. But
okay, Sarah, somewhere you went this week.
I didn't go anywhere. Well, I went places, but this weekend I had a self-care weekend. I went into the world of books and reading and fantasy. And when I was like alluding to like me reading 2,000 pages, it's because of this. Basically, Friday was like a gloomy day, so I just decided to like stay in and read. And then I like decided to stay and read on Saturday. I got like all my chores in the morning. I just like didn't leave the house literally from Thursday night until Sunday afternoon when I had to go grocery shopping. And I just put on my little candles and like I go on my TV and I put on like Cozy Vibes Fireplace. And then so it's on just the Fireplace channel. It's got like a jazz music going on in the background, whatever. And then I sit there and I read my book, and that's all I did all weekend. So I did absolutely nothing. I don't think I've done that since the pandemic, like where I've had absolutely nowhere to be.
Say that's like a rare
for me, especially
100%.
And I feel so refreshed and recharged. And I feel amazing. Look, I want to crave those types of weekends like every once in a while? Probably now, but I like literally had no plans. Like I could have made myself have plans. I chose not to, and it was everyone I told was like, "You did that?" Like you did nothing the whole weekend. It was amazing. What about you?
That's good. Okay, well, I kind of did the opposite. I'm shouting out this week flea markets. I have been known to thrift in my day, but also I don't want to do another East End shout out, but I will. They do a good one over here. The people who run one of my favorite vintage shops, Coffee and Clothing, run one called the Hogtown Flea at Neighborhood Studios. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. But they do a really good job of curating interesting vendors of both clothing, not a lot of like housewares or anything like that, but some. And then records and comics and all kinds of stuff. And like they actually had a pop-up tattoo artist as well doing stick and poke
I love
tattoos.
when they do those. Did you get one?
I didn't. I thought about it. I have a scar on my back which is a totally different story. And they were only doing Flash.
So then you can only pick from those ones.
Yeah, and there was a Band-Aid. And I'm like, I could put a Band-Aid over my scar. But
that's kind of quirky. I like that.
I was also hungry. So I was like, maybe I'll just go get a steak instead. So I didn't do that. But yeah, I love a good flea market, and it's such a good way to spend a weekend, I find. If you don't want to be like talking about doing something that's a little bit relaxing, just walking around, browsing, grabbing a cup of coffee.
What, by definition, is the difference between a flea market and a vintage market? Are they the same thing?
Basically the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I should probably check some of those out. What's something you did?
Something I did? Oh, okay. I went to an amazing restaurant, and I was trying to get a reservation here for a long time. Couldn't. And then
is this one that Haley posted on her Instagram stories? Okay, yeah. It looked unreal.
It was amazing. We had gone once before for dinner, just in the downstairs restaurant part. But this restaurant does a upstairs on the rooftop
Don't
patio.
Gatekeep. What's it called?
Lake Inez over here in the East End as well.
Oh my God.
But granted, no, that like everyone travels over here for this because it is like one of the top restaurants in the city for sure. And the tasting menu experience is out of this world. It's like one of the best things that I've ever done. It's
what type of food is it?
It's like I think that I don't know if this is their own words, but like Google describes them as Asian fusion.
All the best restaurants in the city are Asian fusion, so that would check out.
Yeah, and but they were taking inspiration from like restaurants in the neighborhood, and like the owner Zach. It was basically a performance in itself. So like it was a 6-course tasting menu with drink pairings. So they would bring out the dish, and then it wouldn't just be like explaining the dish. He told this story from his life that would like went on for like 5 minutes almost each time. So it was
to
like
each table or like to the room?
To the room, yeah.
Oh,
and it's
so
this really
eat,
cozy
like,
vibe
together.
with like a fireplace going on this rooftop, and it's just
interesting.
partially covered, and then everyone ate together each individual dish. But anyway, I also tried, don't have to necessarily just shout out that one. I just want to also shout out the idea of like going to do a tasting menu at a restaurant, especially this one was a mystery. So we had no idea what we were eating beforehand.
Oh, that's cool.
And I tried a lot of things that like I probably would never order on a menu, just like going to a regular restaurant. So it's a good way to get outside of your comfort zone, which is something that I really liked about it. Try some things you probably wouldn't try.
Do a tasting menu.
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
try out a tasting menu.
Okay.
Exactly. What about you? What was somewhere you went this week? Or sorry, something you did this week?
This week I had I don't know how to explain it. Is it I had tarot cards read to me? I went to a
tarot reading?
A tarot reading as an event, and it's very popular at these like influencer events. For some reason, I have tarot card readers. Like I don't know why. Apparently, it's because like they do those ones on TikTok. I don't know. So, anyways, I've never got it done because the lines are always way too long. But this event, I was one of the first people there, so I like got on the list really early. My friend Soph and I did it, and she did hers first and was like so emotional after, and like was like, oh my god, like that was amazing, like hugged the tarot card reader. I was like, oh my god, like this is like, I just thought this was gonna be a silly goofy joke. So I got really nervous and I like sat down and I don't know how much I believe in this stuff.
I was gonna
like
say,
whatever.
Are you like an astrology girly?
No, I'm not an
like...
astrology girly. So it's like I just don't know enough
but...
about it. I'm like not an astrology girl, whatever. So I didn't really know. So I sat down and like the first card immediately it was like so relevant and like, and I know you like take interpretation from it, but I was
that's
like
kind of part of it too,
for
right?
sure. But it was like freaky still the way she was describing it.
Give us the tea. What did they say?
And I was just like, there was, I don't even remember like the order of the cards or whatever, but it was just like everything she was saying was resonating. I know like they go off your reactions and all this stuff, and I'm like a half skeptic, half like into it, I guess.
But that's why I kind of like it, because it is, I would say that's almost like closer to, I don't want to say it's therapy, but like, you know what I mean? Where
no,
like
it's the same as like
if they're reading you and they're bouncing stuff off of you, like you're kind of doing it almost to yourself a little bit.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
So, and you're choosing to see what you want to see, but they don't tell you, like she said, she's like, I will not tell you your future. I'm telling you like what's happening with you now and like the things and tools you need, which I appreciated. Because I was like, the future telling stuff would freak me out too much, but it was really interesting and I would do it again. And I really liked the woman that did it. She was cool. Like she had like good vibes. Also, then they gave us tarot cards. So what I can start doing is being one of those people on TikTok that
go on live and do a reading.
You got this card. This card means an abundance of money. Like,
okay, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever a TikTok like that comes up,
I watch them. I go, do I want to see if this is actually relevant to me? And if it's something bad, I go, nope.
Yeah, and then swipe. But it's just like if first card's like kind of relevant, I'm like, ooh, what else we got?
What else do we got? You and the 70,000 people that have liked that TikTok.
I also do those intuition tests. You ever see that? Where someone's just like, guess what number I'm thinking of?
Always.
I'll be like, I'm gonna nail this. 17. And I got it once, like one of the first times I tried it, I got it once, and I'm just like, I'm like a medium.
The volume inside this podcast studio is astronomical, as our next guest is a viral TikTok sensation. Whether you know his voice or hilarious sketches, he's created some of the most influential moments on an app. And he's only getting started. His recent content poking fun at millennials has divided the internet, but we're so ready to break down everything from virality to the battle of the generations. Please welcome to Talking Fast, my friend, Mark.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that beautiful intro. I'm honestly so honored. That was so sweet of you.
I'm so excited for you to be here. You said it's your first in-person podcast.
It is, and I'm super excited about it. I love just all the HD screens and everything. Just having a conversation feels better when I'm actually speaking to a real person.
As opposed to like through a Zoom screen.
Right. And with the delays and the glitches, it gets too much sometimes.
I feel like you can never be like, as much as you can have a good conversation on Zoom, you can never like be your full self because you can't read energy the same way.
Exactly.
I do have to say off the top though, as a resident millennial who like 30 plus, I am coming into this episode a little hesitant myself.
Defensive?
A little defensive perhaps. I'll try to shed my armor a little bit to be open to this, but we'll see.
You know, I did my damage, so I got to start dealing with the repercussions. So
that's actually why you were brought here, is to go Jacob speaks on behalf of all millennials. I'm whatever, zillennial is what they like, the bullshit people my age should be like, no, we're zillennial. I go, don't make stuff up. Like we're millennial. I'm just the last year. So
are you the last year?
96. Yeah, so I'm the last year of millennial.
Interesting. So. I saw today that it's 25-year-olds to 40 something.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
There's literally wrong information on like it's like you read one website and it says it goes to like 97 or 98, and then you read another, it says it's 96.
Right.
But I've always just worked on the assumption I'm in the last tail end of millennial culture, which is really interesting. But what I want to know is like we'll get to the millennial and like Gen Z and battle generation stuff later, but I did want to talk to you about that sound because I was describing it to someone today at work. The volume inside this bus is astronomical. Is how I like associate with you. It's how I first knew who you were. I just want to know like sorry, I need to reword this. When did you realize that sound and like you just saying that became something that was so like ingrained within TikTok culture? Because I would argue that it is.
It was a surreal experience because I posted that February 8th, 2020.
I love that you know
have
the
the date
date
memorized because I celebrate it every year. But I posted it and it immediately took off. It got, I think it's sitting at 16 million views on TikTok. And then in March, April, May, when quarantine started, there was this DJ on TikTok that remixed it with Megan Thee Stallion's Captain Hook. Which shout out DJ Yames because he killed that remix. And so that one just kind of took off after I felt like the rollout of my video happened. And then that one started a whole new.
It's like it gave it like a second life, and like
Exactly.
that's where it started being. Because like if you were to like name, I don't know, it's if you look at like old, when people go, oh, I miss TikTok from 2020, and like that sound and like your video is always one of the ones that people associate with. And I think people would associate that as like
that was
a
also
sound
such
of
a
early
huge
TikTok.
Time. So many more people, especially with quarantine, many more people joined TikTok, I think.
It was part of like the like when I was first on the app, because like I started posting in February of 2020 as well. Like I feel like that's like ingrained in the early TikTok culture. What is it like though? Do you ever like still scroll and like hear your own voice? And do you disassociate? Like do you realize it's your own voice still, or is it just like you've seen so many videos of it now you don't even think about it?
It catches me off guard all the time, especially when I hear Captain Hook by Megan Thee Stallion. I twitch a little bit.
It's almost like PTSD.
It is. I get a little bit of shell shock. I go, because I was in the club and it came on, and I actually like had an out of body experience when that happened, because all eyes turned to me, because everyone knows that song just triggers
what's the
me.
reaction gonna be?
It triggers me, not in like a bad way, but just, oh my gosh, it
brings you back.
Right, it takes me back to 2020. It's just a surreal time, and I don't know. It's a lot.
What inspired you? Was that the first TikTok you made, or was it just like an early on one? No,
I started in September 2019, and I was doing kind of teacher skits, similar thing, but then that one for some reason just took off.
Skyrocketed. Was there any like super famous people that used the sound that you remember?
Oh my gosh, a lot of people. I mean,
Name drop.
It's crazy. Jojo Siwa used it. Charlie D'Amelio, Addison Rae. People even just say it in conversation. And I'm not to toot my own horn, but I know I had at least some sort of impact on that word spiking in popularity. I'm sorry.
No, 100% it did, because it like it became part of like the language that people use on that platform, and especially in such a part when it was like the early days when everyone was mass coming onto the platform,
which I think is rare and a testament to maybe like the quality of that bit as well, because it has to be a good bit to become part of the lexicon, like you're saying,
100%.
where like people can actually reference it, not just like sharing it, but speaking that in the middle of a sentence.
Do you know what it reminded me of? And like maybe this is aging me, but like it reminded me of like early YouTube when there was the same like 5 videos everybody watched. Yeah. It was like the Harry Potter Puppet Pals and like Fred, that guy that was
Annoying
like
Orange.
like exactly all those like early days of YouTube that people will still like associate with the platform. I honestly think like that sound in that video and like will be the same way when it comes to the culture of it, which is really cool that you were like helped to carve out TikTok culture.
As a creator, like after having, you said that was kind of the first one that hit really big. How did you change either the amount of content that you were producing or like what you were producing after that kind of blew up?
I was doing already that kind of content beforehand, so it felt natural to continue doing that,
which is really nice.
Yeah, it was like it felt like it was sent from above. And then, you know, I just do this in general with my content. When I see that something's starting to wane, then I start a new era or a new series or whatever, and just try to ride it as much as possible. I milk it. Yes, I do.
We all do. Everybody does.
Right. Like you have to milk it. People say, okay, you've been doing this millennial thing for too long. And I'm like, well, it's still getting the views.
I was going to say, I feel like you just started. Okay, so we're going to go into like your millennial era right now, because I think it is hilarious. And like, I saw you post on Instagram, which I actually really love that you said it's like kind of like breathed new like life into your content again. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and like how it's this new era has kind of given you the opportunity to like feel like a love of creating again?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was in a really good spot with my content in 2020. I think that I was getting crazy views that are just not even fathomable. And then in 2021, it started to wane a little bit and started to go into a lull. And not to, you know, judge my entire mood on views, but it just happens because views are in a way, a reflection of your content. So if you're not getting high enough views or views that you set a standard for, you start to feel like your content's not good and you feel like people are not liking your content. So I was having poor views for about 2 years until kind of now where I'm starting to regularly get sort of close back to the numbers that I was getting back in 2020. Wow. And it's just reignited that flame that I had for content creation. And I've just been having so much fun with it. People are joking around with me in the comment sections and everything, which I love. You know, there's the odd hate comment, but it adds to the fun of it, in my opinion.
Like the leaning into the bit.
Yeah, like people are telling me I look 35, which
okay, so we need to tell you that
it's crazy.
Before the podcast started.
Well, like I've never met you in person, so I was just like, go ahead.
He's already defending himself. Jacob says to me, he goes, wait, how old is Mark? I'm like, I don't know, he's like in his early 20s because he's like in university. And he goes, well, his TikTok bio says 35. And I go, no, that's
and listen, well, I asked because I was like, that can't be true. That can't be true. But because I've never met you in person, I was just like, I hope.
But thank God you asked, or else Jacob would have been like, just a couple 30-year-olds.
That's what I said. I was just like, oh, maybe we'll get on the episode here and I'll be able to commiserate with another like mid-30s person.
Oh my
God.
God.
Like, not a chance.
No. People think I'm genuinely people think I'm in my 40s. Like people are dead serious. Like, I know you're not talking as a 40-year-old. People are like, why are you talking down on the generation younger than you? I'm like,
but do you think it's just because you nail it, like nail the millennial tropes?
But
so
also, like,
I don't know.
You look like you're in university. Like, I'm shocked by that.
People genuinely think I'm 40.
Had you always gotten comments thinking you were older than you are?
I get a mix. Like people think I'm 18, but then people apparently think I'm 42.
Oh my God.
So
oh my God.
I don't know. I guess I'm just age ambiguous. I don't know.
Age ambiguous.
I don't know if that's a term, but it's crazy because I did a poll on my Instagram story before the Millennial series because I never get ID'd at the grocery store anymore. Or sorry, at the LCBO anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, do I look 35? Because the law is if you look under 35, they have to ID you. So I'm like, do I look 35 years old to... I mean, I know I have grays, but I feel like I'm not 35.
Wait, how did the poll go? How did the...
Most people said I look between 21 and 25. That was one of the options. Yeah. It was like 85% of people thought I was between 21 and 25.
But apparently the other 25% on TikTok think that you look 30. That's insanity that they think you look 35. That's ridiculous.
I don't know why, but you know what? If the shoe fits, I'm going to wear them.
And lean into it.
Right, and put it in my TikTok bio that I'm 35.
You almost fooled me. But also I just didn't want to be rude, you know? I'm like, oh, maybe you are. I don't know.
Do you think I look 35?
No, well, in person now, I'm just like, no, not a chance. That'd be wild. I don't know what the LCB employee is doing.
So where did what was the first piece of like the millennial content that you made in? Like, where did that idea come from?
I don't know where it came from. Like, I saw other people make fun of millennials.
Yeah.
In a different way. Kind of, people made fun of their humor, whereas I kind of make fun of the way they engage with technology.
I was going to say attempting TikTok trends and like videos and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I started in August and did kind of a spoof and it did pretty well, but it didn't plunge me into that series until I redid one. I did the wedding transition one.
The wedding transition one was the first one I saw.
The wedding transition one is so funny because
it's so accurate.
It's so true.
I've
seen accurate. The wedding transition one is just like essentially millennials messing up what a simple transition should be for like
I know
getting ready in the morning to now you're already in the dresses and there's like a snap or whatever, right? Like
it's crazy.
I'm not kidding you. This summer I probably saw 3 or 4 different people who are millennials, solid millennials, try to do a transition like that, and it turned out exactly like your video where like
what's going wrong with it?
The best ones that I saw, because I had friends that did it as well and did like those types of things, were ones that had hired their younger family members to do it for them. So like
hired,
like my friend, my friend's a content creator and she got married, so like she like had her friend she's a content creator, she got married, she had her cousin who is a Gen Z like with her the whole day to like do all of her like the TikTok content she wanted to do during her wedding, like the transitions and stuff, and those were the best ones I had ever seen turn out. I think it's because Gen Z did it, not a millennial, which is just so funny. But the other thing you seem to be hitting people on the head with is the millennial pause.
Yes. I didn't create that.
No, but it is a thing that happens. And now I notice it with every single person I work with, to be honest. Like some of them, like when they start videos at work, and I'm like, just, even if you do it, just crop it. That's the thing I don't get. It's like
there's a built-in editor on TikTok.
I know what it is, but for anyone not listening, what is the millennial pause?
So millennial pause is where someone is doing a video and they pause for a second before speaking. So they go, click record. Hi guys. It's like a whole. It could be like 3 seconds.
It's subtle. It could be subtle.
It can be subtle.
Big.
No,
yes.
but it's like it's the whole thing is that they don't realize that they're doing it, and no millennials really realized they were doing it until it was pointed out by Gen Z. They're like, "What the hell is this pause that you do before?" And I think like I don't even know what the rationale is. I assume
I know
it has
what
to.
it is.
You know what the rationale is?
I'm convinced I know what it is.
Because
I'm someone who does it. Izzy, our resident Gen Z on Talking Fast, accuses me of having the millennial pause as well.
Really?
And I'm convinced I know what it is. It's because on an old like digital camera, if you're going to take a video clip of yourself, there was a little lag. And you're like, you don't know if it's recording for the first little bit.
Really?
Does that forgive us for our crimes of the millennial pause these days? Maybe for the last 15 years? No, it doesn't.
Because you can crop it out now. So I'll be guilty of it very occasionally, but if I ever would, I would never let the internet see it. If I ever like do pause before I speak when a video starts, I always crop it.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah, me too.
like because like everyone naturally like will pause at certain points maybe before they start speaking, but you just crop it. It's the fact that they don't crop it or people don't see the like dying, like it's like, oh my god, it feels like forever, even though it could be like 2 seconds.
Right,
like
they're wasting my time. Like think of all the seconds I could have saved if you cut out your pause at the start.
It does take someone like yourself then to point out these tropes, and then obviously it hits and people recognize that because your comments just blast off as, and I imagine your shares are just like going insane too, of people being like, this is you, motherfucker.
It does go crazy. I don't know. I've always considered myself observant. So it's like the little things that I notice and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I can't believe nobody pointed out the like specifically the bippity boppity one, which was
my
heinous.
gosh.
I literally would watch people go like, do people not know how to edit like at all?
That trend was a pandemic in itself because I have not seen that trend done properly once. It is so bad. I hate that sound.
Have you done the Beyonce one yet? Like the morning routine?
I want to do that one, and I want to do the go into the chapel, want to get married one. Oh my god. Because that like they go up to the camera with a little brush.
And then they go like, ding, ding.
Oh my gosh. I need a shot.
Oh my god. And so then one of the other ones that you did, and we're gonna like poke fun at Jacob here, but because he does have a bunch of tattoos, is you just posted showing like tattoos and very like 2012 2014 like peak like Tumblr culture, that vibe of tattoo. It's so funny when you like look at it. I was like, I know people with every single one of these tattoos.
Right.
Thank God
like,
my mom wouldn't let me get a tattoo when I was like 16.
And it's also like just like how people get tattoos, because no one really gets a full sleeve. It's like patchwork arm, patchwork leg, but then also like random sayings and scroll big long thing. I felt personally attacked when I was just doing a little bit of research and like scrolling through your feed. Because I'm like, oh yeah, this one's funny, this is funny, this is funny. And then the tattoo one came up and I for a second I was like, oh, that looks great. That looks great.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I saw the leg one because I was just like, oh, I have a few tattoos on my legs and one of them is just like, it is a little stupid on my thigh. And then I was like, oh yeah, I should get more tattoos on my legs. And I forgot for a moment that I was scrolling through your feed.
Oh my god.
I was actually just making fun of it. And I was like, oh, yeah. But I'll still go through with it, but I'm now more conscious of what that maybe says about me.
Okay, no, I said in the caption more so to protect myself from people calling me mean. I would get tattoos like that.
Yeah? Do you have any tattoos?
I don't have any.
Okay.
We were just talking before the show started that Mark agrees that you should have your frontal lobe develop before you
Yes, I think the age to get a tattoo should be lifted to 25 in my personal opinion, because that is for the most part irreversible damage. And I even see my own peers at 21 years old starting to regret theirs. So
well, Jacob didn't start getting his till he was 30. So.
I think I got my first one at 30.
Okay.
And I was happy with that.
What was your first one?
It's like a sentimental, it's like a little knife, but it's like sentimental of something that I had in my childhood. And there was this big story about it, but I was like, I know that this is going to be something that I'll actually want.
Right.
Forever.
Because your frontal lobe is developed.
Yeah. As opposed to like some other, oh my God, I'm blanking on what you posted today, but it was like the, I know so many people with it.
The
too.
infinity
the
symbol.
infinity
The
symbol.
the infinity symbol on the wrist, the mustache on the
The
finger.
mustache on the finger is
also lip tattoos
the
were
lip
a massive thing.
ones.
That was a
Yeah,
massive thing.
true.
Inner lip was massive. When I was in university in first year, everyone was getting the
Really?
lip tattoos or the little finger tattoos that rub off. So like, why would you go through the pain anyways
Yeah.
of like
yeah,
getting
like
on
why
your
would you
finger?
get like a finger tattoo at all?
I know. Doesn't it fade in like 2 years?
Like
Oh, where did you get that?
For anyone just listening, I am showing my finger tattoo.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it is faded.
When did you get it?
It faded almost immediately.
Haley was the same way. My best friend got a
Really?
finger tattoo, but she knew it was gonna fade. But like she got it, and I think it was only not like it was after 6 months it faded.
Yeah.
It's just
Fully.
because like so like, you use your hands so much, like so many like different like when you wash your hands, this that, so many things that it just eventually fades.
Wow.
What millennial tattoo would you get if I had to
Would I
take you to
get?
get you one right now? What would
Oh
you
my
get? One that's like a
gosh.
peak, like about millennial culture.
Butterfly back tattoo.
I think they're all so bad.
The seagull ones. Remember? Like
Oh.
we just got all the birds. I just always said it
Or
looks
the
like
birds on
seagulls.
the chest
The
one.
birds on
Oh
the
yeah,
chest.
they do like that one.
That's very Harry Styles. Birds in the chest are like very geometrical shapes.
Yeah, the
too.
geometric ones. They love the Harry Potter references.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't like. I'm not a Harry Potter.
I don't
girl.
watch it either.
I don't watch,
or
and
read
like I
it.
get made fun of for like not. I read the books growing up, but like I don't like. I'm not in Harry Potter
Me
culture. But it is.
neither.
I would say that's a very like peak
I've
millennial
got
culture.
several friends with Harry Potter tattoos.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
It's a shame because the author's an issue now.
Yeah.
I
Or-
know.
So like,
That's.
can't-
it's
I could never
disappointing.
get a tattoo from an artist or something, or like a musical artist or
Oh
something,
my god!
because
Don't tell
I'm
me that because
scared.
I'm gonna get a tattoo from a musical artist.
Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like she's in the clear.
I know, but don't know what that is a good point though. Of like
lyrics
because
is
they
really
might.
tough. Like,
Lyrics
I
is
mean,
tough.
Well, lyrics
Never
I want
someone's
you,
face
but
or
you're right.
something
It's
like
because
that.
if you're
Right.
right because they could end up getting canceled. It's like when you name like this entire city when we've named streets after all these problematic people and stuff like
Yeah.
that, universities and whatnot. You're right because it could turn out that they were problematic. After.
Yeah, because I know this one. Well, I don't know her, but I follow her, and she's a huge Potterhead or whatever. And that's a term that millennials use. Okay, that's a term that they use.
Sorry, that's so funny.
She has like 2 Harry Potter tattoos,
What are
but
they?
she it's that triangle one. The triangle one with I don't know what it
I don't
means.
know what
And
that
then
means either.
I think she has another quote or whatever. And she is a huge like trans rights person and LGBTQ ally and stuff. That
Now you
JK
have-
Rowling
yeah.
stands for
That's
everything
a
opposite of
tough-
that.
That's tough. That's tough.
That's tough.
And it just came out a couple years ago after she got the tattoos. So
Yeah,
how do you
of course.
even move forward past that?
That would be really tough. No, you're right. That's a totally fair. That's a fair point. I'm trying to think of Tumblr tattoos, like what all the girly pops wanted. Like everyone wanted like geometric shapes,
Right.
infinity symbols.
I mean, a rose anywhere, a heart anywhere.
The little like wave is cute.
Oh, the wave was.
The-
that was one I wanted at one point too. The
Oh,
wave.
yeah.
I wanted that one at one point too, but I don't
Yeah.
know if I would get it now.
But I was like, what was? And it's so funny because I'm like, what was like the symbolism there for me to get like a wave? Like, what was the point of that?
oh, I would have a meaning behind it because
See-
I just love the water. I love the beach. So I feel like tattoos don't need to have meaning.
I agree. Actually,
Like-
one of my I saw it was some YouTuber, I don't remember who it was, made a comment about because someone's like, "Oh, are you not going to regret these tattoos when you get like little silly goofy ones like Jacob has a pylon on his arm and like
Oh, you
stuff like
do?
that."
Yeah.
But it's like
I
it
like
has
the
meaning,
meaning,
but,
like the-
but it does have meaning because it's like you got it in New York and stuff. But there's ones that to the average person might be like, "Oh, like why'd you get that?" My best friend gets a tattoo in almost every country she goes to. Like
Oh.
it's almost like she's her own passport that way, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
So I think
like
like there's
that.
ways. But a YouTuber once said, like once I look back, I'm gonna look back at that moment in time that meant something to me in that moment, regardless
Right.
if it was because of the experience or because of like what it meant or whatever. So once I switched my brain to looking at it that way, I think that was a better way of like viewing it, as opposed to
Yeah.
being like, oh my god, I regret all these tattoos, or like just look at it as it's like a scrapbook of your life but on your body, which is kind of
yeah,
cool.
I agree with that. I think everyone has their own meanings and stuff. I mean, who am I to judge?
You're maybe the perfect person to judge, though.
You might be the perfect person to judge. You might be the perfect person to judge. What's coming down the pipeline? What do we got for like millennial culture? Like, what are the other things we haven't hit yet?
Oh my
We'll
gosh.
brainstorm. We can actually interview Jacob.
Things
I mean,
that I have an issue with.
yeah. Oh, tell us that. What are some things you have an issue with?
I think this is a thing that every generation does to the generation below them, but just demean them and reprimand them for
Yeah.
the issues that y'all put on our plate. I don't like that.
I feel like, I think that's right.
Not
like,
you.
I
I
but
was
like,
gonna say I got pointed
Not
at
you.
hard there.
no, I think like every generation does it to the generation before,
Right.
and it's every generation has their like, well, it was different for us, or you don't get it, or like what. Like everyone just, it also comes with the individuality complex of like every fucking person on the internet
Which is
now
so
that
tired.
just like exactly that just
Right.
like their experience then feels invalidated, which it's not. Like it's just everyone grew up. Like I don't know what it was like to grow up. What year were you born?
02.
Exactly. I don't know what it was like to grow up like in 02 and like with like social media and stuff being accessible so young, but it's like, and he'll never know what it was like for us when we were at the boom of it, but it doesn't mean that one or the other experience is less valid, which I think the issue is on social media. Like it's a very
Do
like,
you feel that as someone in Gen Z that the millennials do what was the wording that you used? Like,
They reprimand us.
yeah, do you feel that?
I definitely do feel that. I feel like people underestimate just people younger than them in general. And I just feel like I've heard, you know, just being a content creator and going to events and panels and stuff, people will group all of Gen Z together and be like, oh, they don't know how to XYZ. They don't know how to be professional in a business event. They're declassing us as a job or whatever. And I'm like, how is that? What do you, like y'all started the whole influencer thing. I feel like influencers started with millennials. So
it did.
If anything, y'all declassed it from the get-go.
Is your content a way to like, I know it's just fun and funny as well, but like, is that a way to clap back at them then?
Yeah, I think it's my way to just own the fact that I'm Gen Z because I just hate being lassoed in with an entire group of people just because of my age.
There was on that exact topic, maybe one of the, I think, best videos that I saw was scrolling through your feed too, was something that was like, it was funny, but it also did have like such a strong message that people don't pick up on a lot of the time, was the Brandy Melville one.
Oh
when,
my
like,
gosh.
asking someone, I forget the exact wording, but it was like, the setup was asking someone for a size medium in a Brandy Melville. Because Brandy Melville is like, historically, it's a one size fits all, like, probably millennial, got popular in the days of millennials.
It was Tumblr. It was Tumblr. It was Tumblr era.
Which is kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, that is something that probably is not okay.
It's not okay.
And just like this one little bit pokes fun at that idea and kind of tears down their whole castle.
100%.
Oh, I think I mean, I didn't post that with the intention of being at a millennial thing, but just as like a inclusivity thing.
Yeah. Of course.
Because I was maybe 11 years old at the mall with my friends trying to buy a gift for someone. So I wasn't even trying to get anything for myself, by the way. And all I asked was for a size large bracelet for a friend, like those low-kai bracelets. That's a millennial thing.
Yeah.
Which I was all over.
The ones that were like from the sand
With
of the
the-
Dead Sea and like the air from Everest.
Yeah.
I never had one of those, thank God.
I loved them. I was obsessed with them. But like, why are you trying to tell me, oh, we don't have your size before I even asked the question? Because it was actually for a friend, which maybe that is a millennial thing to like assume that I'm trying to buy something for myself. I don't know.
It's so funny that's like a low-kai thing too as well, because like that's kind of like a whole brand built around kind of togetherness on the planet, yet one size fits all is kind of just entirely exclusionary
At Brandy Melville.
So why are you selling it at
Is it still
Brandy
one
Melville?
size fits all? Do we know? Like I have no idea. I haven't walked into a Brandy Melville since I was
I don't know
17
enough,
years
but
old. I don't know. It might still be.
if it is,
That's so problematic.
Yeah.
They need to get with the times.
Like it's wild, but it's like crazy that like growing up we didn't bat an eye at that. It's like, oh well, like Brandy, like I remember like asking for stuff for Christmas from Brandy Melville, like they had like all the graphic tees and like like,
I hate that their stuff is so cute.
I
really hate it because their stuff is like,
very cute, and they're very good at being like on trend with what's like popular like at the time. But I remember like I had like these shirts and like they had all these like graphic tees. I remember asking for Christmas for my mom, and she goes, "Oh, what size do you need?" I go, "No, mom, you don't get it. Brandy Melville's like only one size." And I remember
Which
my
is
mom being
crazy.
like, "What? Like how does that work?" And then they started selling shorts. I remember, and it was wild because it's like, oh, there is some things with sizing because like jeans and shorts you have to.
yeah.
I forgot about that. Wow. That was definitely a Tumblr era when you would like wear the Brandy Melville graphic tees and take all the like mirror selfies with like the straight hair and all. I can't believe you weren't a Tumblr kid. That's crazy to me.
I avoided that.
I was like, I got
you got a little
glimpse of it.
glimpse of it. Yeah, it was
I was raised on the internet, so
I love that though. Mine was
saw it
that was
all.
peak high school for me.
Really?
What was your first social media account you had then?
Instagram. Yeah, in 2013.
What was yours?
I guess probably Twitter.
MySpace?
Ooh,
No?
I love Twitter.
Did you not have
MySpace.
MySpace?
Yeah,
MySpace
Oh
would have
my
been your
God.
first.
I wish I got to see MySpace.
I never got to see it.
MySpace
MySpace was
was-
just ahead of me.
Amazing. Speaking of like being the generation who started to learn how to code and all that, like
Oh my
MySpace
gosh.
was the playground for that.
Well, and
Is
that's
that
what-
HTML?
Yeah, so that's where
Yeah.
like Tumblr was like that too. Like I learned how to code like my own Tumblr page by
Right.
like because you could buy like codes from people and stuff like that. But really like if you just like dug through, you could like figure out ways to like take codes from other accounts, and that's how you like made your landing page, which is kind of crazy to think
Yeah,
about.
that's very very
Like,
intelligent.
well, kind of to
Exactly.
your point, yeah, was like I remember there'd be like people, like parents of my friends would always just be like, "Oh, what are you doing spending time on MySpace?" But it's the same as you're talking about. Like I'm actually trying to learn something.
Right. There's something to take away from it for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
I wish I got to experience it.
MySpace, yeah.
I love the aesthetic of it, like the Y2K aesthetic.
Yeah.
I love that.
If on TikTok right now you could rank a top 8 friends, would you do it?
top 8 friends.
Because that's what MySpace
That's what
had. It
MySpace
had
was.
a
You
top
rank
eight.
your
would
top 8
love
friends.
to do that.
And then you have a song on your profile too.
I would want that too. What would your song be?
Right now, I just said it before when the podcast started. I'm in Sad Girl Fall right now, so I'm in like
Okay.
back into folklore evermore. So probably like some or like I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of Zach Bryan and Noah Kahan. Something Sad Girl Fall though, so something from folklore evermore. Maybe like a Mirrorball of 7 and Ivy, like one of those. What about
Okay.
you?
Okay.
What would you pick?
I don't know. I'm still. The first one that comes to mind is Cruel Summer. I mean, it just
Do
hit
it. Just hit number 1. Do it. I love that though.
But
That's perfect.
The
I
remix is good,
just
too.
love that. You think so?
I think so. You're like, whoop, okay. I said something bad.
I think it was.
Really?
If you were to describe to somebody the biggest difference between Gen Z and millennials, how would you describe it, do you think?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that we're very similar in a way. I think that I don't think there's a fine line between generations, but I feel like millennials are just kind of the older version and the older siblings to
That's a good
Gen
way to
Z.
describe it.
Because we grew up with the same kind of things. We grew up with the same TV show styles, the same kind of social medias and things like that. I think that
You can take it,
it's a tough question. That's a tough question because I actually can't pinpoint what the difference is. I think millennials are the more formal version of Gen Z.
That's a good way of putting it.
I think millennials, I will give y'all that you are more formal than us.
I will say, I think Gen Z to millennial is a lot closer of a like type of like person generation than millennials are to what's the one ahead of
Gen
them?
X.
Gen X. I think
Yeah.
there's more of a gap between Gen X and millennials than there is between millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more crossover. I think the
Those were
internet
the last
culture.
people to purchase homes.
Yeah, literally.
We're all never gonna own a home. We
No,
can all-
it's so. We need to like band together, even though I'm the one to drift us apart. But
no, it's the poking fun. It's like you only make fun of the friends that you're closest with. You're just poking fun at people
Right.
that you love.
exactly, and if you're offended, maybe take a step back and look at what you're doing.
Well, that was me
you're
scrolling
helping.
through your feed as well because I was just like, yeah, you know what? I do have to examine myself a little bit closer, I think.
But you don't give off like peak like the
No,
energy
you
that
don't.
energy that he's describing is like the people I went to high school with. That's who
take
he's
that.
describing.
I feel like you could pass as Gen Z. I honestly
Izzy
think
thought
so.
I was Gen Z.
No, she
originally.
Yeah, I
didn't.
think you-
Izzy thought you were 27. That's not Gen Z.
Close enough. I would consider.
Okay, actually, we have one question that we do need to ask.
This
Oh,
is the
that's
question
what it
I wanted
was.
to ask. Okay, so
I'm scared.
no, don't be scared. So Izzy is our resident Gen Z on the podcast here. She is hiding behind the camera right now.
Thank you for representing us.
So one of the first episodes we ever had, this is like off-camera banter, we got into an argument with Izzy because she claimed that Avril Lavigne is Gen Z, like represents Gen Z, like her
Do
music.
you claim Avril
Do you
Lavigne?
claim Avril Lavigne from Gen Z?
I love Avril Lavigne, but I think that she's more of a millennial icon.
Thank
I think
you so
Olivia
much.
Rodrigo would be our
Equivalent.
punk rock queen.
Izzy,
Wait,
to be honest.
Izzy has a comment. Izzy?
you can yell.
I just feel like I'm getting misrepresented because what I was saying is that Gen Z can claim her too, and I was told that we were not allowed to claim her at all.
We can.
And that's what I got. Because I grew up on her music. I don't know what you're talking about. So we were told that we
Oh, I claim What the Hell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my song.
And so maybe she doesn't. I don't know if she represents Gen Z, but it would be hard to come by someone who doesn't know Avril and loves her like green street hair.
We're not saying people don't know
I
who
I
she
see
is.
your point.
That's what I felt like the argument really was in my soul. Was that we were allowed to claim her. And
Oh, for sure.
we weren't though. So that's the real argument. Don't
Y'all can't just claim an artist for yourself.
Oh my god. Thank you.
Y'all cannot just claim. I mean, Gen Z is reclaiming. What's their name? The band from.
NSYNC? Who?
No, what's their name? Fleetwood Mac.
They're reclaiming.
We're
Fleetwood
reclaiming
Mac.
Fleetwood
I don't even
Mac.
think millennials had that.
No, I think that's like a boomer.
Yeah,
They're the
that's what-
70s. My dad can't even claim Fleetwood Mac.
You know what I have to give Gen Z though is that you guys are bold.
Yeah,
We are. I think y'all are more filtered than I, because the type of things I hear on the internet from Gen Z is bewildering. It's TMI at times.
it's I think it's like we grew up in like I grew up with on Twitter with my dad the day I made a Twitter account, making a Twitter account being like, don't say anything stupid, employers won't hire you because of this. And
Oh
now
my
there's people that
gosh.
fully like share their entire like there's so many times I see stuff that like you share everything on the
Guilty.
internet, but like everyone does that now, and that's like the culture now, which is crazy because like I was raised on like, don't say something stupid on the internet.
I'm never getting hired. Like, I have the worst case of Twitter fingers. It's
Oh,
so
Twitter
bad. I tweet
fingers?
everything that comes to mind.
Oh,
Like, almost. I'm not gonna get hired. I've accepted it.
But you just have to wait. You just have to keep riding TikTok, and then eventually all of Gen Z will be like
The people in
management
charge, and then you'll be
positions.
fine.
Exactly. You know what? That's a great way of putting it, because I think a lot of people might have clean social medias, but let's see what your thoughts are, because and they'll come to light in the workplace. I'm being transparent with y'all from the get-go, so
you know what? That's fair. It's instead of like the gossip or the people say stuff behind their back like in the office, it's just like you're just saying it out front.
exactly.
Which
Like,
is a fair
Maybe
argument.
like Gen Z will be super successful politicians because instead of like
Being sneaky
getting
and just,
being
like,
sneaky,
yeah.
getting caught up in
and saying like the
scandals.
right thing and this and that, it's like they just say whatever is in their mind, which I actually really respect. It's the one thing I wish
love
I was
it.
better
So
at.
this might be an interview actually with like a future prime minister.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
maybe.
and they're gonna use it all against me. Actually, now that y'all say it, I think that bluntness skipped a generation with y'all, because I'm a big reality TV person, and there's been like 5 to 10 years where there's not enough blunt people, but before that everyone was blunt, and then now that Gen Z is getting on the show, we're more blunt.
Interesting.
That's a good
That's a good
description.
observation.
Because if you look at reality TV over the past like 5-10 years, it's been very dry in terms of drama and just confrontations, but now that Gen Z is starting to get on it, they're clocking people.
I like
think
this take.
I do too. I think it's also because like Gen Z understands that confrontation and what's the word I'm looking for? Confrontation and controversy breeds likes, comments, this, that.
Absolutely.
And I think, and then the generation before didn't, like, I think of Vanderpump Rules as an example, because I love that show. The early seasons, they didn't say whatever the hell they wanted because, like, they didn't think they'd ever become famous. But then they became famous and they kind of went, like, a little bit more low-key and, like, less blunt. But then now they're getting more back into that bluntness, so.
We need to bring it back. I'm sick and tired of the keeping thoughts to ourselves.
And the fake niceties and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love the hatred, the vitriol. I'm watching reality TV. I'm sorry. I don't watch it for morals.
I don't watch it for morals either. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on Talking Fast
Thank you
today.
for having me. This has been so much fun.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad your first in-person experience was great.
Yes.
Whenever there's whatever your next era is, or if there's
my
ever a
gosh.
divide in the generations and we need to bring in our resident expert, we will bring you in.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I'm now the expert and speak on behalf of the generation. So thank you.
I love that. I think you speak well on it too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Talking Fast. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, give us 5 stars, whatever platform you are on. We come out with episodes every single Wednesday. You do not want to miss it. We'll see you next week. Bye.